You might not have known them, but I'll guarantee you there are very few great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers and fathers still alive. So, sin and death. John chapter 10, verse 10 says, He came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Now, I'm going to put some visuals on the screen. The first one I'm going to put is from camera 1. And that's going to, on camera 1, you can come back to me. I'm going to talk to you about the sun, the earth, and the moon. The sun, the earth, and the moon. And I want to tell you that what I'm holding in my hand is the first chapter of Genesis, written at least 3,500 years ago. And we just took this picture in 1969. So this Bible opens the book of Genesis on creation and talk about the sun, the moon, and the earth, that the earth was created to be inhabited. And there's a controversy going now about evolution, which is non-existence, versus intelligent design, which is also non-existence, because the real terminology is scientific intelligent design. That takes in it all. But we're talking about how does sin and death enter into this picture about the sun, the moon, and the earth. Well, God says that the earth was created to be inhabited and replenished. Now, unless something is going out or has been poured out, there's no need to replenish. So if man was created to stay on this earth forever, there would be no need for procreation. Would there? No. So man was created to die. Man was created to die. I know that man was created to die because God made provisions for him to have life and to have it eternally before he ever created him. Let me say that again. Mankind was created to die. Don't let anyone tell you you're going to live forever. You're going to come back in 3 or 4 different alternative states, a pig, a goat, an ant, a fly, or you're going to reconstitute in this body. You're going to meet up with your wife on the other side of death. Now, ain't no sex on the other side of death. No sex on the other side of death. Sex is a reproduction. Is for reproduction. And only certain types of sex can reproduce. Normally you can't reproduce male or female. And even a bisexual animal or a bisexual plant does not have sex with another animal or another plant in order to reproduce itself. It's all contained in one. But there's that bisexual. Yes, it is. Now, we're talking about sin and death. And we're talking about Jesus. It's appropriate at this time to talk about Jesus because we just came through Christmas. You know, his birth. And 30 years from now, biblical time, he's going to start preaching what I'm about to teach on sin and death. So let me give you some biblical truths about sin and death, and then I'll discuss them. First, I said that man was created to die, and sin was a part of that creative process that God allowed to take place. You remember in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28, God said, let us make man in the image of man, in our own image and after our likeness. We're talking about sin and death, and you have to go to the origin in order to get the truth about sin and death. What part does sin and death play in God's plan of redemption and salvation? It's a prerequisite. Sin and death is a prerequisite for redemption and salvation. If there's no sin and death, you don't need any redemption and salvation. Redeemed from what? Sin. Saved from what? Death. Eternal death. But I'm going to read Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28. I'm talking about sin and death. I'm really talking about the origin. And then a little bit later on, when I get down to chapter 10, verses 10 through 16, we're going to talk about how God carried out his promise that he didn't come to rob, to kill, to steal, but he come that we might have life and have it more abundantly. I'm going to Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. Read along with me. I'm only going to do about 5 minutes of this. Then I'm going to move on. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28. I'm talking about the origin of sin and death. My subject out of John 10, 10 and 16 was what to do about life and more abundantly. But I said that sin and death was a prerequisite for life eternal. So here we go in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26. I'm going to read 26, 27, 28. 26. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. He didn't say in our likeness. He says after our likeness. In our image after our likeness. And let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Verse 27. So God created man in his own image. Now hold on a second. What happened to the second part of that after his likeness? It's not there. Verse 27. So God created man in his own image, or in his image. But at that time, man wasn't created after God's likeness. In the image of God created he him. Wait a minute, what happened to the likeness? Verse 26, created in his image after his likeness. Verse 27, in his image, but no after his likeness. In the image of God created he him, but not after his likeness. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. After his image. Well, what about your likeness, God? I'm glad you asked, because he's coming to that. In verse 28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them. Okay, let's stop at God blessed them. What did he bless? He did not bless Genesis 1:26. He did not bless man in his image and after his likeness. Because in 27, he only created him in his image. And it was in his image that he blessed man.